for the Supreme Court lesson. And so the Supreme Court is the highest court in the judicial branch. And the judicial branch is the branch that interprets our laws. And so you're going to start here with some notes. You'll notice that it's labeled notes number 5. Don't worry if you don't have all of the sets of notes. We will be taking a test on civics literacy next week, but I will make sure that you know exactly what you need to have in your notes for that test before you take that test. So the notes number 5, if you open it up, or the Supreme Court notes, on Monday, you're just going to go through the notes. And as you go through the notes, please write down in a notebook everything that you have see labeled in yellow. And then just read through all the notes. There's a video here that you should watch. And then as well here, a little bit more about the Supreme Court. So then you are going to have a Supreme Court case assignment where you're going to be analyzing a single Supreme Court case. And that is the next part of this lesson. So then you're going to go to this Supreme Court case example. You are going to open this up. You're going to be learning about one Supreme Court case that all teens should know. There are 2 documents here. You can choose one of the Supreme Court cases from either of these documents. So this is from a Upfront magazine, and there's a little intro. You should read the intro. Then it talks about different Supreme Court cases that really apply to teenagers and how the Constitution and our civil liberties are protected in the Supreme Court, or how they are interpreted by the Supreme Court. And a lot of them have to do with schools. The second one is just a continuation of that article. So here's 5 more Supreme Court cases that you should know about. And so you are then going to choose one of them. I am going to tell you right now that you may not choose the first one. The first one is Tinker, because I have an example here of what this should look like kind of by the end. But you are going to choose one. You're going to write the name of the case. You're going to write a summary of the case in your own words. You are going to add 2 pictures. You can erase these and add 2 pictures. And then you can write down what issue or right was at stake. So was it freedom of speech, freedom of religion? Was it your 4th Amendment rights to search against unlawful search and seizure? What did the court decide, and what impact does it have on you as a teenager? You then also may delete the instructions once you're done and you submit your assignment. So this is an example. Tinker versus Des Moines was when 3 high school students wore black armbands in protest of the Vietnam War in 1969. The school asked them to remove the armbands, but they refused to comply, and the school suspended them. So the suspension went all the way up to the Supreme Court. They sued the school, claiming that their school violated their First Amendment right to freedom of speech, that by wearing those armbands, they had their freedom of speech rights. So the court ruled in favor of the students, the Tinkers, saying that the school did in fact violate the First Amendment rights. However, they did add some limitations. So you don't have 100% freedom of speech in schools. Your expression of freedom of speech may not cause disruption. And the case has been used to protect freedom of expression in schools and to support rules against offensive and dangerous expressions such as language, clothing, etc. So they said because these armbands were not distracting, they were not disrupting school, they were lawful to wear. However, if you were wearing something that was really offensive or distracting, schools can choose to not let you express yourself in that way. So that is the example, but you're going to be choosing one of the Supreme Court cases. Remember that the Supreme Court cases are found in these 2 links right here. So that's part 2 of the Supreme Court example. Part 3, or lesson. Part 3 is to read about to listen about a more current Supreme Court case. So Supreme Court case, in this case, it is the case of school prayer. So this came from last year, and this past year, where a football coach was praying with his team at midfield, and he was fired for doing so because of the idea that prayer should not be part of the school day or just school in general. And so you're going to listen to the podcast. You're going to open up the podcast. There's also a transcript. So if you'd rather read it than listen to it, the transcript can be found here. And you're going to fill in the questions. And then also think about what do you think they should have decided. Once you finish that, the Supreme Court has already ruled on this case. And you can find the results of what they ruled at the end of the Notes number 5 slideshow. So please reach out to me if you have any questions.